The number one question that I get asked is, how do I maintain my hobby motivation? So today with my guests, we're going to explore the ways in which we stay motivated to get our armies painted. My name is Tanya, otherwise known as the War Mistress. I've painted some minis, I've played some games, and I'm on a mission to be nice and roll dice. We're here today for another episode of Be Nice and Roll Dice, and today we're talking all about hobby motivation, and I have my friend Craig here, otherwise known as OG Paintworks, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
So this question, how do you stay motivated to do hobby, surprisingly is the number one question that I get asked. If I ever do an Ask Me Anything, this one always comes up. Do you find that is the case as well?
Sometimes, because I paint a lot, usually I get more questions about what paint brand is best or how do I do this thing. But, I find it's more of a question I ask myself.
I always feel like I can't answer this one. I can answer it, but for me, how do I personally stay motivated? I think that I don't oftentimes have trouble with motivation. So we were actually having a conversation. Since we both sort of frequent Instagram quite a bit, and we had a conversation, and this topic of motivation actually came up, and I was like, you know what? Who better to speak to about it than Craig? So, do you have problems with hobby motivation?
Uh, yes and no. I find it a double-edged sword. Growing up, I guess I was diagnosed with ADD, like most children of the 80s were. I was not medicated. My mom chose to just keep me active in things I really like doing. So I've tried to carry that through my adult life, and what better way to stay busy than to have a kinesthetic hobby?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword because I do sometimes find dry spells. But I mean, when I'm motivated and inspired, is how I like to refer to it. Like it's full on, like off the deep end, head first, just go.
Okay, so when I first started doing the hobby, I was like very sporadic, and I don't think that necessarily was uh because I had like a lack of motivation. I think just because I had so many like other hobbies on the go at the same time that nothing ever really kept my attention for any one length of time, but I don't think that was lack of motivation. And I'm not really like I could tell you exactly what happened and what changed in that is like my other soul sucking hobby. I couldn't do that anymore. So I had to like basically find something else to fill that time because I'm not a person that likes to sit idle. I like to be busy. I like to have projects and I like to have goals like that just keep me going. Um, so ever since that moment, I have not lacked like the motivation to do hobby. I think it comes down to the fact that I have a schedule. Do you have a hobby schedule at all?
Maybe not a schedule, but you can kind of see over my shoulder here. I have a whiteboard on the wall. I make lots of notes in paper. Yes, pen and paper, and then on my phone and like the little note app. For me, I find the best way that I can maximize what I do is to get those ideas already out of my head, written down, and like properly kind of set out, laid out, messed around with. So that way, when I'm ready to go, it's like this, then this, then this, just boom, 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 boom. Like I'll write out paint recipes.
I
And
have I have a paint recipe book right here actually. I am also like a pen and paper note person. So like this is my paint recipe book, and I have all sorts of stuff in here. And sometimes because it's a sketchbook, I will actually like paint my
yeah, the paint
recipes.
swatches.
Yeah, I'll sometimes do that as well. This is really good, especially if you have like multiple projects on the go, because I like to sort of paint a lot of something and then leave it for a little bit and then paint a lot of something else and then go back to that same thing, and sometimes I need the reminder of like what was I doing before. How do you sort of approach the recipe book?
Well, I mean, on top of having like source material, like for historical stuff, I love this kind of stuff
Hmm.
because Vallejo makes like, here's your paint swatches, here's your paint colors, here's your tank that you're painting it on. So, I mean, I love having a library of resource material, whether it's for whatever game, you know, like I've got a bunch of books on color theory. I've got a bunch of books on like tropical fish. I've got, you know, like crazy World War II weathering and painting. So those definitely help me focus more. But as far as like those special blends, like I was doing on like my Eldar, my Craft World stuff, like that Craft World Mamira, where I do a transition from was it Jade Green to Hawk Turquoise, and kind of I had to write that down because I'm using like weird color shifts and I'm using different transitions with the airbrush. And if I, you know, get burnt out on the project, I'll set it aside like you do, and then I'll come back to it after I refresh after doing something else and be like, okay, now that squad's this color. How the hell did I get that?
Yeah.
And yeah, having those notes is very handy for sure. So yeah, I don't keep it in like a journal like that. A lot of that is just like random scraps of paper like this in my drawer with all my stuff. And then lots of pictures. I always take pictures instead of writing down my paint swatches. I'll line up my paints left to right in the order I use them, and then I'll take a photograph of them.
Oh, that's pretty smart actually. I as a content creator, I find that I fill up my phone rather quickly, and I don't remember to like store photos like in a cloud or something like that. So I just like periodically just like delete all of the photos off of my phone. So that would just not work for me at all, because I do a lot of video and stuff as well. So yeah, that would not work for me. But I mean, maybe I mean, at the same time, like I am just such like a pen and paper kind of person. I'm a checklist kind of person. I like that. Speaking of checklists, but I like that feeling of like crossing something off of a list. So even though I don't lack motivation, I do have some ideas of things that I do that could possibly be the reason why I don't lack motivation. And one of them is when I'm painting an army, because the number one thing that like motivates me is getting my army on the table so that I can play with it. I don't like, I tried once to paint like just a centerpiece model that I was never going to play with, and it was just pretty and it was a slog, and I didn't enjoy it at all because I knew that I was never going to put it on the table. So for me, that is the number one thing. I paint everything that I paint, I'm going to play with. But I think the way that I get like an army done and the way that I keep motivated to do that is I make small lists. So I'll be like, here's 500 points of orcs. I'm going to paint this 500 points of orcs, and then I'm going to move on to something else. I don't do like 2,000 points like right away. I have done it before, and it was a bit of a slog. But even then, I do have ways to make that a little bit easier. But yeah, I like to do 500 points at a time, because then it's like you get the satisfaction of seeing that you've done a lot, but you don't have to like keep doing that until you don't want to paint like green and blue like my orcs, or gray and green like my Imperial Guard. Well, how about you? Do you have anything else that helps you get through it?
Other than just knowing that the only way I find I'm most productive is by having kind of that focus when I get inspired, to kind of like really, really, really narrow down that energy and kind of use it for the forces of good, so to speak. Because if not, like I'm out the window. I'm, you know, on the ceiling. Oh, what was that noise? I'll be like, oh, hey, I just paint this today. And I mean, maybe because I play multiple game systems, not just 40K. Maybe because I have multiple bits of subject matter that I like painting, whether it's historical, whether it's a creature caster piece, which I'm still working on. But I mean, again, that was just a for me piece. But having like the notes and like that game plan, saying, okay, cool, I will collect this entire army. So for me, the way I approach an army, I guess, is I will say, cool, I'll write out like my 1,750 points or 2,000 point list. I will buy everything. Like, just, I need the stuff. I have the stuff. Cool. Take that off my list. I bought it. Now I will build it all and convert it all because I like doing a lot of sculpting and converting too. I find it makes painting a lot more fun when you
Mhm.
have unique pieces. And then I'll get to that stage. And then as far as painting, I'll kind of prime everything and get like everything base coated in like the green or the black or the yellow. And then I'll just kind of cherry pick. Oh, I feel like painting grots today, so I'll paint some grots. Oh, I feel like painting Spider-Man today. I'll paint Spider-Man today.
Mhm.
And for me, that's unless there's like a specific timeline that like there's a tournament or something that I have to have something done for. I'm fairly capricious. Like I will just let the breeze take me where I need to go. And I mean, it's always forward momentum and it's always progress, but it might not be like that visual, hey, I've finished this whole unit yet
Mhm.
until a couple months down the road.
Mhm. It's funny because when I'm talking about painting like an entire army, the one time I did paint 2,000 points like all in one go, it was for a tournament. And I base coated and washed everything, and I put the bases down on everything, and then so that got me to the tournament. I could play no problem, and then I went back and like picked out like I picked a unit that I wanted to do all the details on. Um, I really think that that's really motivating, and I'll tell you why. Because some of your units will look really, really good, and some of your units will look really, really bad. But you're still playing them together, and you're like, oh man, like I should really get the rest of my units up to like the same standard because they kind of look like garbage next to all these pretty ones. So I also find that really motivating, just to do like a big chunk of base coat and wash all at once. Have you ever tried to do that before?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, right now with your 1-for-1 challenge, I kind of I just like whole army for one almost. I tend to paint really
Yeah.
fast. Like
Yeah.
I have the benefit of having been a commission painter for as long as I have. Like I have my own little hacks. I have my own little kind of special blends of stuff that I know I can cut out. You know, instead of doing a 7-stage blend, I can get the same result with 4 and like a wash. So I'll kind of mess with glazes and stuff in that. But over my shoulder here, you can kind of see that yellow shelf. Most of my grot mob army was going to be that bad moon yellow. So I ended up grabbing my colored primer and everything that was going to be yellow, like my killicans, my tanks, my mega tanks, all my mega knobs, like everything, anything, done, yellow. Like, so for me, that's kind of 2/3 of the problem out of the way,
Mhm.
because we all know yellow is a pain in the teeth sometimes. But yeah, sometimes I'll also pick armies that I know there's a colored primer for them, say Black Templars. Who knew? As soon as you prime your Black Templars army, they're like half done. And so I've got 3,500 points just sitting over here waiting, and I'm slowly cherry picking those.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I so the biggest the big one, the big motivator for me, the reason why I don't know if it's a motivator, but it's the reason why I don't need motivation most of the time is because I have a schedule. Um, I have certain times that I am painting, right? Now I've tried to like make content around the times that I'd normally be painting anyway. So for a year and a half, I wake up early so that I can paint for an hour to an hour and a half before I go to work. Um, and that is just habit. Now, that is my time. That was like the only time that I was ever going to be guaranteed to get hobby in. So I've been doing that, and I've gotten so much done since doing that. And then there's like certain other times, like I know Wednesdays I'm going to be painting all night. I know Saturdays I'm going to be painting in the morning. And I know that Sundays I'm probably going to paint for most of the day if I'm not playing. So now I've like created content around this schedule, but it was working for me before I started the schedule. I almost like made the content around the hobby schedule. Um, but because I never have to like I never have a doubt about what I'm going to be doing in that time, I don't ever feel a lack of motivation. I never have like I'm never like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to paint next. Like I always have a plan. Like once I'm done that, I'm going to paint this next cool thing that I really want to paint. Um do you work to a schedule, or do you just paint whenever your heart desires?
Little from column A, little from column B. Very similar to how you have, your schedule and your content creation schedule and things. I've kind of tried to maximize my hobby by using those as motivators.
Hmm.
So, like for the longest time, like the last 2 years before I made the jump to Twitch, I was always on Instagram Live on Mondays for 2 hours, regardless. And
Yeah.
I made sure I'm always painting, whether it's my own stuff, whether it's commission, like that's my time. And then the rest of Monday until like it's dinner time, I would just paint all day. So like get my breakfast in and play my Animal Crossing game and see how my island's doing, and then get dressed and do my thing, and then I would paint for almost 8 hours every Monday, guaranteed, and I still do, which is awesome. And now with Twitch, because I'm streaming twice a week, Wednesdays kind of happen like that for me too. But other than that, I always try and just if I feel like painting, I will paint. I'm kind of blessed with a reasonably flexible schedule. And my wife being a nurse, I have a lot of kind of time to myself in some days because her schedule's all over the place. So I was like, cool, I'm just going to hang out with the cats and we're just going to paint. But I
Yeah.
always try and get like that at least a minimum hour, hour and a half a day, like regardless whether I want to or not. It's just like you said, routine. You just kind of you almost crave it after a while, right?
Honestly, if my day doesn't start off with painting, I'm just like, this doesn't feel right. I feel like my life is somehow like less than because I didn't start off in my Zen space, if you know what I mean.
No,
Um,
I totally get it. I totally understand.
yeah. So that like literally a schedule for me, I think is the number one thing that makes me not feel like I lack motivation. Um, However, and one other thing about the schedule. So one of my friends, Alex, he actually told me that once he stopped saying I don't have time for things, he became more productive. So instead of saying I don't have time to paint my miniatures, he started saying things like painting miniatures is not a priority in my life right now. Right? So this it sort of takes it allows you to sort of take the power back because by saying I don't have time for this, it's like you're almost like reserving yourself to the fact that you're never going to have time to paint. Whereas if you say it's not a priority, it means like you could find the time somewhere else. You just don't want to at this moment in time. And since I've started doing that as well, not so much for hobby because I love it. I love painting. I'll always have time for that. But for other things in my life, like exercise and stuff like that, now I am starting to find time for it. I'm fitting it in when I can because it is becoming a priority in my life again. Um, so yeah, that's another thing. The language that you use regarding your time may be a demotivator for you. It might be something that you could try yourself because for me, it's actually been working in other areas of my life. Um, do you believe in like using language to affect your reality?
Oh, of course. I've always kind of probably since high school when you finally learn about almost what the universe is or what you really want in life or what flavor of chips you like. That I've always kind of referred to myself as a realist. I'm a big fan of not using the word negative or positive. The fact that everything has that duality and it's a matter of perspective, right? It almost makes it existentialist. And even though like this is brush cleaner, it could be something different to you and to me. Like this is a necessity when I paint. For you, maybe not so much, and that's okay. But having a grasp of that understanding, I guess, and that verbiage or whatever you want to call it, right? Like allows you to kind of, I guess, switch on that lizard part of your brain and be like, well, why do I feel that way, or how has that made me feel this way? And even like watching Star Wars because I'm a huge Star Wars geek. The whole Yoda thing, do or do not. There is no try.
Hmm.
I will consciously never use the word try.
Yeah, yeah,
And my
I
wife
agree with that.
hates it. Well, she's like, well, why don't we try this? Well, are we going to or not? Like, not
Hmm.
to be a dick, but I'm just like, well,
Hmm.
yes or no? And I kind of view painting the same way, similar to your friend Alex with the, well, it's a priority. It's either I will paint or I will not paint. In most cases, I will paint.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's I understand that while painting for me is a joy, and it's like a time for me to decompress and relax, and turn my brain off from the craziness of the outside world, I do understand that for some people it is a stress, and for some people it's not necessarily a fun time for them. Um, so I thought maybe what we could do is we could maybe brainstorm a few ideas about how we could help those people, like people who are finding it really hard to get motivated, people who are finding it like, maybe painting isn't like the most fun time for them, and they need ways to get through it. um I know you came with notes because you're a superstar.
Well, I
I
get.
didn't.
I appreciate it, but I don't know what superstar.
You're a
However, thank you.
superstar.
Oh goodness. There's a song in there somewhere. We won't get sing.
No,
But
please
yeah,
don't.
I'm not that bad.
No, it's not you, it's the song.
Oh no. But yeah, as far as notes, again, like just if it's in my brain and I don't write it down or materialize it somehow, it's gone. Like just gone, and I'll have another thing behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was definitely that child that was always wanting to be outside while he was in class.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, butterfly, oh, shiny. Definitely, it is a favorite color. And with our hobby, right? Like it can be, there's a lot of shiny things, especially certain companies that release beautiful plastic kits all of the time, and then now are showcasing them Mondays. So very exciting times, especially for people who love painting vampires. This guy. But that said, back to the notes. Yeah, I do my best to come prepared.
I didn't come prepared. I do have ideas.
It's your show, and at the end of the day, having the idea, that's all it takes, right? That spark, yeah. Right? And big things happen from one little idea.
That's right. Well, since you have a list, I'll let you list off your first one, and then I'm going to list one.
Sure.
Yeah.
My biggest one is when you get inspired, like really get inspired. Dig yourself in, because it's a creative hobby. Whether you like rolling dice, whether you like painting the men, it's a creative thing. You have to actively use your left and right side of your brain, in some cases equally. And when you get inspired, really figure out what makes you excited about that project. Maybe, that movie you saw, like, I want to paint the bugs like Starship Troopers and put that on Guardsmen. I don't know. But really figure out what really excites you about that. And if you can tap into that, you'll just have like this tidal wave of amazing stuff that will just keep pushing you forward.
I love that. That's why I started my pink Marines. I think I had this like crazy idea, and I was like, no, I can't start another force. But it just like, it was an idea that couldn't leave me. So now I'm gonna do it. I may not do it fast, but I'm gonna do it. I've got like my first 700 points picked out, so yeah, I'm gonna do it. So it's really good advice too, because now I'm looking at a model that's almost finished. So my piece of advice is to maybe consider using a spreadsheet or an app. And what I do, I actually use Battlescribe because I play Warhammer 40K. But if you play something else, like, you can for sure use a spreadsheet. There's also the Organizer app. There's all sorts of different apps that you can use. And what I do is I put in all of my models that are built, all of my models that are unbuilt, and all of my models that are completed. So I can see like the total points of everything that I have. I can see how much I've actually completed and how much I still have to do. And for me, I like having a visual, but I also like having numbers, right? And I'm a completionist as well, so I'm like pushing to get completed. Like my goal, I know I'll never get there, but my goal is to get to the point where everything is painted, and then I just like buy a kit, and then I build it, I prime it, I paint it, and then I go buy another kit, and then it's not going to happen, but this is the goal that I'm working towards. As I look at like I have like 6 of these boxes just full of models. This and this one. No, this one and this one down here. They are actually built and painted though. So that's
Ooh.
good. I know. So that's my advice. Get organized, write it down.
Yeah, no, that's totally great advice. But I think the whole point about buying a new kit and then just, oh hey, I'm just gonna build this because I have nothing else to do. That's foreign to me. I'm not gonna lie.
I know it's foreign to me too, but I want it.
I hear it's possible, just like playing golf sober. I hear it's a thing you're allowed to do, but I don't know how enjoyable it would be. I like having that eternal to-do list.
This is all unbuilt.
Yeah.
This is all unbuilt.
Yeah.
That one down there.
Yeah, it
too.
is.
Yeah.
Nice.
But just because it's not my reality now doesn't mean that it won't be my reality someday when I'm 70.
Well, what was it? Tom Turbidius always said it's a pile of potential, not a pile of shame. Why would you be ashamed of something you thoroughly enjoy?
It's not like shame. I just want it painted so I can play with it. I just want more options. Yeah.
More tanks.
Shame. But I mean, is anything a better motivator than like social shame? I mean, for me,
I suppose it's that whole negative reinforcement.
Yeah, like me, I have social anxiety, so like social shame is a very big motivator. So maybe I'll just keep thinking about it as it's shameful, and then I'll like keep painting. I mean, I'm gonna keep painting anyway, but
yeah,
you know.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got
the social shame thing. I mean, it doesn't really work for me.
No, you don't seem like the type. You got
oddly enough, I'm tempted to like, no, I'll just hold up the mirror. Here you go. Have fun with your shame. Enjoy.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thanks for looking out for me, man. It works for me.
I'm here to help. Always here to help you, lady dude. No stress.
Yeah. Okay, what you got for me? What else you got for our listeners?
Another one as simple as bouncing ideas off of other hobbyists, kind of like what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Whether it's locally in your game club, whether it's your friend at high school, whether it's a member of the community that seems like a world away because you're on the other side of the continent. The fact that we're so interconnected right now with things like this, a cell phone and a computer, we have the world at our fingertips. And on top of having a library of information, whether we can just Google it and say, hey, Google, why is a tree fog this color? We can also say, hey, War Mistress, hey, Tanya, how are those guard going? And more importantly, why did you choose that camo? Because I was trying to do that, but I didn't quite figure it out. And then sometimes some of the craziest ideas come out of that. Mm-hmm. Like I remember, what was it last year? We were talking about a potential grot army. You're like, do it! And then I found those chibi tanks that I'm using for my grot tanks. You're like, those are perfect. Why aren't you doing it? I'm like, so I mean, I don't know if you want to call it social shame. That's to me, that's enabling, or
yeah, I was gonna say you need to find yourself a hobby enabler.
Yeah, and there's lots of us out there, right, who love just what we do, and we love seeing other people succeed. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, sometimes if you're doing the project and I can visually see it and I know I've kind of helped with it, I don't need to do that project, and I can still vicariously live through you.
It's true. It's true.
So I mean, it's I don't know if you want to call it like a dirty little secret or a guilty pleasure, but it's we're here to build each other, and in such a creative hobby, there's so much energy going around. Mm-hmm. As soon as you get that energy just kind of bubbling and boiling and going away, it's wonderful.
Yeah. And that kind of actually moves into my next idea quite nicely, because my next idea is to consider making hobby content. There, for me, is no better motivator than my schedule, and my schedule now is making content. So Twitch is so easy to get started on now, right? Instagram Live is so easy to get started on now. And sometimes just sharing your hobby with other people and doing hobby with these people over the internet is sometimes just enough motivator and enough time to start seeing that your projects are getting done. The other thing you could do is you could make YouTube videos. There's a lot of people making blogs, vlogs, video on YouTube, or just making how-to videos and all of that. And even if you help one person with your content, like that in itself is it makes it all worth it, right? So that might be something to consider too. If you need something outside of yourself to inspire you to make content, maybe helping other people or just making content, maybe that could be your thing. If you've ever thought it, by the way, tangent. If you've ever thought about making content and you thought that would be really cool, then you should just do it. Don't wait. Don't wait until you have like all the right equipment. Don't wait until, you can buy a new computer. Don't wait till you have those skills to do it. Just make the content, just start and everything else will fall into place as you go. So that was my tangent. Anyway, do you have one? Not a tangent. I mean, you can go on a tangent if you want.
I usually do. No, I guess the next thing I had was really know what makes you happy and excited about the hobby, because it's very multifaceted, right? Like some people like list building, some people like chasing the meta, some people like converting and sculpting, some people just like painting, some people like it all. And if you can really tap into that, like first and foremost, that thing that really makes you excited about these little plastic spacemen and women on the table making machine gun noises as you're rolling dice, then you can tap in and, again, harness that kind of creative energy. I'm all about harnessing energy. So if you can really focus and say, yeah, I really love, blending yellow because I think it's the greatest paint ever. Do it. There's no wrong way to do hobby, right? Like we've always talked, you and I, and the only wrong way to do hobby is if you're not having fun, and more importantly, if you're taking the fun from somebody else. Other than that, go. Just go. Like you said, why aren't you doing it? If you want to do it, do it. Like it's a hobby. Hobbies are made for enjoyment. You do enjoyment for yourself. Like it's a self-care thing. As weird as that sounds, but it's true.
No, it doesn't sound weird at all. It's like my time to just be me. So yeah, no, it doesn't sound weird at all. My next one might be a little bit controversial. Hot takes. If you find that your motivation is somehow linked to maybe a fear of not doing hobby the right way, stop watching tutorials and just start looking at painting miniatures like you're playing, like you are making a sandcastle. There is no correct way to make a sandcastle. You are, making like your finger painting or whatever. There literally is no right or wrong way to do it. I know there's a lot of people who preach like you have to thin your paint and you have to use a certain brush and you have to use a certain undercoat and all of this stuff, and literally none of that is true. The only correct way to paint your minis is to put paint on your minis. However you choose to do that is fine. And once you sort of let all that sort of judgment of yourself go, then you're making progress. You're just going to throw paint on it, and every model that you paint, you're one step closer to developing your own cool, unique style and getting your army done. So that's my hot take. Stop watching tutorials.
No, that's totally valid. I think, as lovely as tutorials are, and as lovely as the wealth of information that's out there on YouTube, what's the old adage? Opinions are like assholes. Yeah. And I'll leave it there.
I'm sure we've all heard this one.
But dad joke or not, it's just one of those things, right? And why should someone else teach you how to do your hobby and make you happy? Wouldn't you know what makes you happy before anyone else?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, I mean, I'm guilty of this too, of like comparing our work to other people. But your work doesn't have to be anything in particular, and any model that has paint on it is better than a model that doesn't have paint on it. And I really do firmly believe that. And anybody who's giving you unsolicited advice or anything like that, who are they? They're not you. Or people like, oh, if it were me, I would do this. You know what I start saying to those people? Well, you could buy that miniature. You could get it at this place here. So you could do that. There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any hot take advice?
In a way,
I'm like so curious if I'm the only one who's sassy.
wait, no, no, trust me. I guess it's the Canadian in me that you're just like sometimes you just don't say a whole lot unless you absolutely have to. Like you get to that boiling point, you're like, all right, this is it. You know what I mean? Like tarps off, boys. Like we're going for it. As far as my hot take,
put you on the spot.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I appreciate it. Thank you. You're making me think. And yeah, so the hot take, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how to verbalize this eloquently because I could just be pretty nasty and vicious for the sake of just getting it out there. But I choose not to use that verbiage.
Okay, I appreciate it.
So the OG hot take, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. When you're trying to assist someone, we'll say assist, because they've posted work on whatever social media platform that's out there. Stick to the topic of the question they asked, as opposed to, oh, well, if you watch this tutorial, well, this person said this, and they have 30,000 views. Who cares, man? Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's great. In most cases, I'm going to say this hot take right now, that most of those people that you find have a lot of views and follows and stuff, War Mistress excluded, they're just marketable. I'm not going to... Oh, no, you're...
That's
you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, they know what's going on. They know what they're tapping into. They happen to have decent camera and lighting equipment. They've paid X number of dollars for their whatever fancy overlays and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they're just like you and me. Like we just want to paint models.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they've been able to monetize whatever it is, but that doesn't make their advice any more relevant than your friend at the game club who likes painting blue tanks for his Imperial Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it comes back to that whole, it's your enjoyment. But yeah, the unsolicited, solicited advice, if that's what you want to call it, right? Well, in my honest opinion, anytime I hear that, I just switch off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you are. Thanks, bud. Thanks for coming out.
That is demotivating for people. If they didn't ask for that advice...
Oh, it's brutal. And meanwhile, you're just like, I just painted these Vikings. What do you think? And that's it. That's all you want to say. I've completed my thing. What do you think? It's out in the world.
I guess
as opposed to,
that could
do this.
That could be advice, though, right? Like because I like to just share my work. Yeah. I don't like, if people want to say things about it, like, oh, I like that, or oh, I don't like that, that's fine. That's not actually why I share my work. I share my work because I like to have a photo diary so that I can see like my advancement through the hobby. So I can like scroll back to the very beginning, January 1st, 2019, when I first started my Instagram account, and I can see like progress from there to where I am now. And that's why I post. And the friends that I make along the way are just like amazing. But just realize that some people, that is the whole point of them posting, is they just want to share their work. They don't want to hear your negative opinions. Don't demotivate them, please. Just ask. Send them a private message and be like, hey, I had some advice for you on your model. Would you like it? And wait for them to say yes or no, because I 100% of the time will say no thanks. Right? So you just sort of wait and ask if they want it. That's all. Don't just like...
No, that's totally fair.
Bleh. Yeah.
That's totally fair. And much like yourself, I started my Instagram just to document my own hobby journey. Because I just wanted to see what I physically accomplished. And yeah, I haven't gone to the point where I've deleted earlier posts because my painting was different or I was learning a technique. Why? For one, that's just more time that I have to do something else and I can't paint. So, no. But yeah, as selfish it is, I started Instagram for me. Mm-hmm. And I've been blessed, like you said, through our incredible community. Like, we can't stress it enough how truly global it is. Mm-hmm. It's that worldwide hobby family that I always refer to. And there's some wild things happening and some incredible relationships that we've been able to build. And people I never would have had a chance to meet had I not gone out and said, you know what, I'm just going to start an Instagram because I want to paint my little plastic spaceman and post it online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that whole unsolicited advice, yeah, it never hurts to kind of take 2 seconds, like waiting before you send that strongly worded email to somebody at work. Just let's have lunch before we hit reply all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes just that little bit of caution goes a long way, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm out of ideas, so if you have any more, you just let them go.
Okay. Here. No. Yeah, I have a few more. I think one just kind of in general, be open to trying new things. I'm sure we've all heard it since we've been a small child and you're trying to eat vegetables that your mom wants you to eat, but you don't want to. But I mean, in a hobby that allows total freedom of choice, you get to play how you want to play, paint how you want to paint, collect how you want to collect, play how you want to play, like roll the dice you want, don't roll the dice, play with the people you don't, whatever. Why not be open to attempting those new things, whether it's been something that you've been eyeing up because it's a brand new system, or, hey, I've never tried this list. I always thought it'd be cool. Use things like Tabletop Simulator, because then you can try that all grot list, 80 grots to get that brigade, like groups of 30. I guarantee I would not paint that many. No way. But I would love to just steamroll somebody one day with
I'm just
cajillion grots.
I'm just saying, playing a horde on Tabletop Simulator is...
it's got to be a nightmare.
It's really difficult. I played like 100 infantry, not infantry squads, but like I played like 100 foot sloggers in a guard list on TTS, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. So now I'm playing like super elite armies on TTS with like I don't know, 25 models and stuff, and that's a lot nicer. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely back to the point about trying to do new things. Maybe there's that person at your game club or your local that's like really into this one game, and you're like, cool, let's try it out. But be open to be reciprocal with it. Like Tom was talking about specialist games.
Mm-hmm.
If you want somebody to learn about the game you're learning, why not do the dude or lady dude thing and say, cool, what really gets you excited? Let's check that out. It only has to be the one time, because that's chances are all you really need to really figure out A, if you like it or not, or B, just for them to say, cool, they were willing to kind of meet me halfway. And I think those kind of little bits to relationships, especially in a person-to-person community, go a long way. And it really strengthens those bonds and then allows you to have more conversations about what makes you excited about the hobby.
Yeah.
So just that openness to, you don't have to say, cool, I'll do anything, anytime, any day. No, it doesn't have to be that bad, I don't think. But, why not give it a go?
Mm-hmm. I will say that I do think that my philosophy in life is that I have to try stuff twice. Because the first time could have been a fluke. You never know. So you got to try it twice. But that's just how
That's fair.
That's how I live my life, Like especially with a game, like maybe that person was like not your person, or maybe that army did not fit your army, like your play style. I think you got to try it twice.
I think that's pretty good. I would like to amend my statements to be willing to try it twice, just to make sure.
Just to make sure, right? Like it could be the best thing ever, and maybe that was just like an off day. And you'll never know, right?
Like pineapple on pizza. The answer is always yes.
Yes. Yes, always yes. Oh, we're going to get so much hate in the comments over the pineapple.
That's okay.
I'm okay with it too.
I feed off your hate. I feed off it. No.
All right. You got anything else for me today?
I'm sure I got lots, but currently my list is empty.
Okay. Excellent. Well, if anybody has any other ways that they keep motivated, they should just drop it in the comments, because I read every single one. And this has been a blast. I think that we should probably get you on the show again at some point and maybe talk about something else.
I would love to. I always appreciate chatting with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today and talking about motivation with me. It's been so much fun. All right, everybody, I want to know, How do you stay motivated to paint your miniatures? Let me know in a comment below. And as always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification because that really helps the channel out here. And don't forget, I stream 2 times a week on Twitch. I do daily updates to Instagram. I co-host Forge the Narrative podcast. And also in the mornings, Tuesday through Friday, I co-host Just Put Paint on It on Twitch with Scartcast. So make sure to tune in and say hi wherever you see me.